My guest today is Professor Alex Akpodiete.
He's a college lecturer, a trained lawyer, and an international consultant in cybersecurity and AI.
I was in tech. I've been in computer science, IT since the 80s. The law school, got an MBA, got a doctorate, and then I'm in academia and I do consulting for countries around the world on cybersecurity, forensics, and AI. I tell people that this is one of the most challenging times to be around tech-wise.
But at his core, he sees himself as a teacher.
Out of the blue, won the second largest Catholic university in the US, recruited me. The irony is that it's like they created a position for me without knowing that I existed. They wanted somebody who had a law degree, computer science degree, and the highest cybersecurity certification, which by the grace of God I had, right? For years, and now I'm teaching American University and Nigerian University. That was very challenging. And of course, I did my youth service in my 40s. But I remember when I went to NYSC camp, the kids were laughing at me, and one of them were making a joke, saying, "Bros, you know if you get exemption, right?" One of my uncles was like, "Please come and help us in this university. We're trying to build a university in Delta State." So I came over there as a professor, and I was teaching just like I was teaching in the US. I was passionate. According to them, they never met a professor like me, with a tattoo, and I spoke to them with mutual respect. I said, "Okay, you must submit your assignment via email or online, because I'm trying to teach them to compete globally." Now, you have all this so-called coalition, but if you look, you're going to see that whether it be the current administration or the so-called, there's not a difference between them.
They've been around.
Yes.
This is Depth and Direction.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Depth and Direction. My name is Ikem Elvis Nadi. My guest today is Professor Alex Akpodiete.
Well, I wear different hats, not just as this one. So on a traditional level, I'm the Ataware VA of Okparabi Kingdom in Delta State. But professionally, I am both, I guess I'm kind of like a retired lawyer. I practiced law for years in the US. But before that, I was in tech. I've been in computer science, IT since the 80s. I went to law school, got an MBA, got a doctorate, and then I'm in academia and I do consulting for countries around the world on cybersecurity, forensics, and AI. But like we were saying before, I also dabble in a little filmmaking, but I'm also a published author. I do a lot of writing, books, articles around the world, and I do a lot of training. But when you summarize everything I do, I'm basically just simply a teacher, right? I just teach. Even in my book, I teach. In the classroom, I teach. When I'm consulting with government, whether it's cybersecurity, end user awareness, I'm teaching on how to prevent yourself from being the victim of hackers, how to protect critical infrastructure for government or with law enforcement. I train them on things like dark web or dark net, how to catch criminals online persona. And of course, now with both generative AI or machine learning, we do a lot of training on how to use AI in whatever you're doing now, like what we call bespoke training, like AI in healthcare, AI in the military, AI in law enforcement, AI in law, AI in restaurant. AI is like ubiquitous, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of training but more like from a cybersecurity perspective, even how AI affects us. We hear the word deepfake, you hear this kind of stuff. Even forensics, AI affects us a lot in forensics. How do I know that file I'm retrieving from a computer or what's called metadata, which is like data about data, was not manipulated with an AI tool? Because usually if you take a picture now or this video, when you upload it, if you upload it on social media, you have what's called EXIF data, EXIF, or just a single picture. It will tell me where you took it, if the location is on, the longitude, latitude, the type of camera that was used. So I can use it to do some analysis. And the time of day it was taken. But you have tools like Timestamp where you can manipulate those things. Or other AI tools. So it makes it kind of very challenging. So I tell people that this is one of the most challenging times to be around tech-wise.
It is.
Yeah. So
I didn't know you were a lawyer, to be honest. We've had several conversations and it's about different things, mostly tech.
Yes.
I didn't expect you to be a lawyer as well. How did you make the switch from,
Well, so my dad was a lawyer and a judge, in the days of magistrate judge, and then Midwestern Nigeria, which later became Bendel State, right?
Okay.
And of course, later on they split Bendel State in the Edo and Delta. And my mom was a college professor. Back then we called them like lecturers, right? She started at the teacher training college, did her first degree, went to UK, then went to the US to do the masters, and then did her PhD in the US. And of course, we went with her to the US. So I'm one of those, almost I was called a latchkey kid. When my mom was around, I didn't lock the door. I come back home, so I don't have anything else to do but to read and study. So it was almost like natural that I have to maybe go to law school. But in the US, law school, law degree is a graduate degree. You must have another degree first before you can go to law school. And then I tried to study criminal justice. Psychology was a little too boring or too easy. And then I took a computer class. I'm talking about, I started university at 15, right? So I went to university at 15. You can imagine a foreign kid in an American school with all these white people. So I was a little lost, anti-social, but he helped me to just concentrate on the book. So I was in a school called Tallahassee Community College. I did well. I was at the top of the school. But then I was like, this is too easy. Then I came across a computer class. I think it was my second year of my first degree, which was an associate's degree. I took a computer class, and I loved computers. I mean, the computers is different than what we have now. It was more like a big device.
Boxy type.
Yeah, boxy, monochrome, black and white.
Yeah.
And then later we went to what's called amber color. I was like, man, I would love to learn about computer science. They said, okay, well, you have good grades, but you have to do math, calculus, physics, differential equation, all in. So, code just entered my body when I heard the math. Because when I was in school in Nigeria, back then, from year 3, you choose you want to do arts or you want to do sciences. Yeah. So since it seemed like I want to do law, I had to do arts. But also the way they used to teach math in Nigeria was horrible. It was like rocket science or something, right? So it made some of us afraid of math. But I really wanted to study computer science. So I went to they said, this is the beauty about good universities. This is in Florida. They said, come to the computer lab and we can help you. We'll see your deficiency. It's almost what we call today like gap analysis, where you are, where you want to get to, right? So I took a placement exam, like, oh yeah, you really need to do a lot of work, right? So we can help you to bridge the gap. And then I remember I think it was a small white kid, explained some simple stuff about equation. When the light bulb went off in my head, like an epiphany, I was like, oh, this is what they're making so difficult in Nigeria. So I fell in love with math to the extent that later on I even got certified to teach math in the US high schools and stuff, right? And computer science. So I did that, and then I went into computer science. I got a scholarship. I finished. Part of scholarship was an international student, but I worked my way through school. I'm like with 3 to 5 jobs, paid my school fees, my rent and everything, and I graduated without even owning one kobo in America. And then you get a job. I got a job with the state, programming old languages back then, Fortran, assembly, COBOL. Then I got hired by Pricewaterhouse, so that was like my biggest job. Now we call them PwC, and they flew me to Tampa, Florida, their administrative headquarters then. And I programmed there for years. Then the law bug still hit me. I applied to many law schools in the US, even some of the Ivy League, Columbia and all that. They accepted me, but I really wanted a place where I can work while I was in law school. And I chose University of Miami, which was a good decision. It's an international place. I went there, did my doctorate in law, practiced law for years, which enabled me to travel to a lot of different countries. Of course, I got an MBA and all that. And as technology started getting better, something we call Moore's law in computer science. It talks about more like as technology is getting better, and the price of things are going cheaper because of what's called the microprocessors. Because there was no way for us to really merge computer science with law at that time. But gradually, it started coming. So initially, it was more if I just maybe started doing more intelligence and security studies. I even came down to Nigeria as a visiting professor to one of the universities here. And then when cybersecurity started growing more, those of us who had the left and right brain started getting into that section, as well as relates to even ethics, governance, regulation. And then forensics, which is really a combination of computer science and law, started becoming even a bigger field. So because it's natural that people like us too had a law degree and a computer science degree, because we also have e-discovery. So that's how I eventually merged them. And after a while, I kind of got tired of going to the courtroom. And of course, younger lawyers would like beat guys like me, older guys are sharper than older guys. So I'm like, maybe it's time I start retiring. But all of these years, I was also teaching at the university because some university in the US, they wanted what I call pracademics, who are practitioners who are also academicians, right? So I would practice law in the day and I would go teach at the university at night.
You were teaching law?
Yeah, so I first started teaching business law and ethics. And then later on, I now started teaching in intelligence and security studies before now gravitated teaching more certification courses for cybersecurity. And then out of the blue, one, the second largest Catholic university in the US recruited me and I became their, the irony is that it's like they created a position for me without knowing that I existed, which is, I call it God, right?
Yeah.
I say that. Now God do I'm right. They wanted somebody who had a law degree, computer science degree, and the highest cybersecurity certification, which by the grace of God I had, right? And they advertised and they found me on LinkedIn and I went for an interview with the panel. I have an awesome boss, and they hired me to teach in the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice, which is weird because this is a computer science department, and I think it's cybersecurity offshoot. So that's the department that I got hired on there. So when I gave up my job in the US, came to Nigeria, and I went back again to the US, and now ended up at this university. And then, of course, when they now created a second course for forensics, which is now called cyber forensics, not just computer science or digital forensics, I was the natural person to teach that. And then, as God will have it, I'm teaching in person. And then, of course, COVID happened. But before COVID, I got hired by a foreign government to consult for them on cybersecurity and leadership. And my biggest fear was how was I going to be able to combine both jobs. And then after COVID, they forced us to come back in-person classroom. And then later on, when I wanted to quit, they were like, no, please don't quit. You can teach your classes remotely. That's the reason why I'm able to travel around the world. But on the other hand, it also means if I'm in like Dubai, I get to teach like 3 a.m. in the morning to like 6 a.m. in the morning. So I have to stay up or like that. I was teaching a course from 11 p.m. here to 7 a.m. in the morning. But it's technology. And then again, 2 years later, I got hired as an adjunct by a British university in a little place called Ras Al Khaimah, University of Bolton, to teach their master's level course, what's called DevOps. And then an Australian university hired me in Dubai to teach cybersecurity for them. You know, but then I really wanted to come back to Nigeria, Africa, so I went with my kids to Rwanda, and I see African Leadership University. After what caught my attention was Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, was teaching at the university. I'm like, it must be a good university. So so I went for an interview. I went there, and it's like they didn't hire me. They didn't like pay any attention to me. I'm like, okay, I forgot about it. Then a year later, I get a call. Say, please, can you help us with this semester with some students? But you're going to teach at our Mauritius campus. Okay. I'm like, well, I don't want to go to Mauritius. It's okay, you can teach online for that semester. So I ended up teaching in African Leadership University or Leadership College in Mauritius. So kind of remember, like in the last 24 years, you know, and I'm teaching American University and Nigerian University. That was very challenging. And of course, another US University, then a British University, Australian University, and then so that's really in a nutshell. I mean, and it's been interesting. That's why I say I'm really just a teacher. I love
at
teaching.
the core of it.
Yes, I just teach. Even when I write books, I teach. In fact, when I was a trial lawyer in the US, I always say my job was to educate the jurors or teach the jurors about my client's case. So I would take a complex concept and I'll try to simplify it for an average juror of 6 or 12 to kind of understand my point and to rule for, give a verdict in favor of my client, you know. So I can take by the grace of God, I can take a complex concept and I could simplify it for people that they can hopefully understand. And that's why every time I teach or train, I love to get evaluations. I just got one for 46 students now from last semester. Some of them were very brutal, you know, but I'm going to read it and figure out how to change. Yes. Other things like, one actually called me, I guess I can say it for yourself, called me an asshole, right? But majority of the students, they loved me. They said, you know, they acknowledge my expertise and, but I think I know the student, even though the evaluations are anonymous, it was a student that always missed the deadline and always wants extension. So after a while, I'm like, I can't be giving you guys extension. There's extra work for me. So she just thinks I was not willing to always give extension. But after I give you one or two extensions, come on, do you? And then you're like, I'm trying to also teach you about life. If you miss a deadline, if you miss a flight, plane is gone, right? You miss a deadline, and like in cybersecurity, if you don't patch your app the time you're supposed to patch it, you're gonna have a problem. Yeah. So it's not just giving them exams or stuff for purpose of just grades.
It's training
We're trying
for
to
life.
teach you for life lessons. So when I read it, I knew the students, I knew the students. So hey, if out of 40, one section was 24 students, that was 22 students. Out of 46 students, the majority of them says I'm good, and one says I was I didn't care about the student. I'm like, okay, so I didn't care about you, so I kind of understood. Because nobody can always like you. You cannot please everybody.
Yeah. But you mentioned the Nigerian university.
Yes, the experience.
So, yes. So just a little bit.
Oh, okay. So I've always wanted to come back to Nigeria, but every time I come, because of maybe my law practice or obligation with the university, I come for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then I got to go right back, right? So I was trying to figure out how to come. And then, and also, people have always been asking me to come back. Like I met some well-meaning or well-to-do Nigerians too. They're like, oh, you're wasting your expertise in America, come back. So I've been trying to figure out, but Nigeria is not easy adjusting. So I had some series of events that made me come, and the political appointment that was promised me didn't happen during particular administration, without mentioning the name, and something happened to the president, and things changed a little. But then somebody's like, go and lecture at the university now, you have all this experience. And then they was like, oh no, you need to do youth service. Youth service. So I'm in my 40s. But I did my youth service in my 40s. So actually, I didn't want to go get an exemption or pay anybody. I actually served. But I remember when I went to NYSC camp, the kids were laughing at me. And one of them were making a joke, saying, bros, you know if you get exemption, right? But I wanted to really do it. Of course, they gave me some extra privileges. I didn't have to do all those physical exercises or do the rope. But and then I got posted. I did my essay. But so now one of my uncles was like, please come and help us in this university. We're trying to build a university in Delta State. I don't want to mention the name, but so I said, okay, let me help them out, right? So I came over there as a professor, and I was teaching just like I would teach in the US. I was passionate. I would meet with my students, They're not, according to them, they never met a professor like me, experience, with a tattoo, and I spoke to them like they were my mates. I spoke to them with mutual respect, as opposed to the professor like trying to beat them over the head and order them around, right? And I was not asking for money from the guys. I was not sleeping with the women, which I think apparently offended some of the other lecturers, right? And it was tough. And I would give them assignments, and I'll say, okay, you must submit your assignment via email or online, because I'm trying to teach them to compete globally. The days of course, when I went to the classroom, they still using chalk. I don't remember the last time I used chalk in my well-manicured nails. So I'm like, no. We're not going to use board, but how do I teach when half of the class doesn't have computers or laptops, right? Mm-hmm. So we tried, and I just faced a lot of resistance from colleagues or even the administration. And I remember taking my students to, in the history of the school, I can say I'm the first person. I was teaching intelligence and security studies. I taught financial and fraud management. I was able to coordinate with EFCC, ICPC, and then Force headquarters here before they were bombed. The intelligence section to bring my students from Delta, and they hosted us, fed us, and everything. But that caused a lot of other challenges with people at the other university that felt like
you're doing too much.
Yes, Yes. I was like, how's this? I'm teaching them stuff, let them see the agencies and stuff. And it was quite challenging. People make some disparaging remarks, and apparently somebody went to do juju, I'll say, let's see how it will go and come back. And then one day I was coming back, and I almost got into an accident. I had to enter the bush, and they said it's the juju that the guy did that made me almost die with it. I don't know, but the point is I was like, my God is more powerful than that guy's juju, It could just have been simply reckless driving. I was in a rush, stressed. I wanted to get to the school on time. But of course, we don't know. But the point is that my God protected me, you know. And then I was now being recruited to go to one other Nigerian university to help them, a comparative law department, after interviewing with a 23 panel member. And I was hired. The owner of the school, fantastic Nigerian man, I don't want to mention his name. But when I went to resume work, they couldn't find my file. You know, and on the way, I was dying to be like, I don't think Nigeria is for you or something, eh? But that was very challenging.
It conveniently disappeared.
Yes, can you imagine that? They've made you an offer, you're going to select your place, your file disappears from the entire school. And the owner of the school was even more puzzled, you know? And all I can tell you is that I was the only non-ethnic person from that particular university. And it was interesting. But it actually made me, because somebody told me, if you come back from the diaspora and you can survive in Nigeria for a year, you will not want to go back and live abroad or in America. And which was true. After you survive 1 year in Nigeria, okay, everybody's different. You're like, man, I love this country. It's like a renewed love for the country. But you still have to deal with all of the necessary challenges. You know? Like for those of us first in tech, you see, you got to have a generator, right? You know, you have to have solar panel. I was spending a lot of money on NTN, Airtel, SpectraNet, Glow, and the well, because I'm in Abuja now, thankfully when Starlink came, you have to get Starlink. And that's the only way you can really operate in Nigeria. But if you can get all those things set up, Nigeria is a great place to be. I mean, I know people want to jackpot, but there's a way you can set yourself up in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like I'm in my house, my wife says when we're in the house, she doesn't even know we're not abroad. You make yourself comfortable, which, it could cost some money, but truthfully, there's a lot of challenges in the country. There's a lot of poverty in the country, but there's opportunities in the country. You just have to be a little patient. And yes, it's good to be able to go and come back, because some days your head won't scatter. You know?
Need to go clear your.
Yes,
That's the thing.
So that's the place. So I do not fault those who want to just jackpot and leave, because I know things could be somehow, you know. But also know people who genuinely want to stay and do things, and they get frustrated. You know, whether they are by the civil servant or they call them the evil servants or the system. Because there are some very wicked people in Nigeria that they benefit from things being very bad. And it's like you just wish God would just like kill all of them, just get rid of all of them. Because as long as some of them are there, this country is going to be very tough to progress, you know, in Nigeria.
It's not even the thing of just changing one leader. The entire system needs like an overhaul. There are people in certain places that need to go.
Yes, like I had somebody making an analysis that politicians come every 4 years, 8 years, and they go. Civil servants are there permanently. But it just we have a recycling of politicians, right? I mean, I don't want to talk too much about politics, but look at it this way. Now you have all this so-called coalition. But if you look, you're going to see that whether it be the current administration or the so-called, there's not a difference between them.
They've been around.
Yes, everybody is benefiting. So maybe I'm upset at the president because his administration is not favoring me. So I want to do a coalition to displace the administration.
Yeah.
But show me a new politician or a new person, maybe Sowore or somebody that has not benefited from an appointment or elected office. That's the kind of people that we should be looking for. Because if you're in PDP before you join APC or vice versa or another party, you've been in the government the next 8 years, 16 years, some of them 24 years. So now you want us to agree with you to remove somebody else.
You know, because they're wearing a new clothes, so.
Yeah, because you're not chopping the cake now.
Yeah.
You want us to now. You want to deceive us to now. No, so we need. I'm telling you truthfully, for Nigeria to change, I always want to tell people, don't vote for anybody that's been in office before. Vote for somebody new. We need a new brand of leaders. We need more young people to be in office, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just that people, because of the money to buy the ticket and all the frustration, people are discouraged. But wouldn't it be lovely if, say, 2027, everybody in office, from councillors, governors, everything, are new. People that never held office before. You know, that have not chopped our salary or national cake for a long time. Because the question is, so there's an American expression that says I can do worse by myself,
Getting
right? Right? So really,
How bad can it get?
how worse can it get? So why don't you try a new blood? Try somebody different. I'm sorry, we need new blood, we need a new thing. Because the definition is insanity is doing the same thing
And
the
expecting
same
a
way,
different
right? And expecting a different result.
result.
If you keep electing these same politicians, recycling them under the name of a different political party,
We're still going to
we're
get
still
the
going
same.
to get the same issue.
It's
you
just
know?
about interests, I think. That's what
Yeah.
they're doing, like personal interests. Or if it doesn't favor me, I come out with this outfit.
Yes.
And then I act like I'm different. When I get in or my person gets in, we continue.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work for us, we cause a change.
Yeah, and godfatherism is killing us too. Can I just get a new person called Emeka or Tunde or Hassan that we never heard of, right?
Yeah.
Come,
Probably in business for many years and then
yes,
decided to try politics.
yes. I'm not. Even though, well, I guess, even though I wrote this book, we're talking about the Trump book, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a proponent or an opponent of Trump, but the point is that when he came in 2016, he was an outsider, right? Never been in elected office. So yes, he's also disrupting a lot of things, and maybe if he had a little more political experience, the sentence he might not do. But it's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people accepted him in 2016. Can you imagine if you have like a, I don't want to say like Dangote, because probably like maybe Dangote is in a way has benefited from different, but it could be Dangote, somebody who's like a successful business person, right? Or Otedola. It could be somebody, see somebody in business and just say, oh, not be somebody, it couldn't be somebody in business. Do you know the reason why Good Luck is going to stay as, no matter how you want to bastardize or disparage him, he's going to have a good reputation in Nigeria because he was a university lecturer, professor, right? He wasn't a career politician.
Yeah.
We call him an accidental politician. And because he was an accidental politician, it wasn't a do or die for him. That's why he says his personal ambition was not what the
Life
blood
of
of any Nigerian, right? And he could actually
walk
away, right? And be respected around the world. Which Nigerian politician of this current dispensation would do that?
This is
With
their
all the
entire
power.
career. Where
Yes.
do they go after this?
Yeah, so you see, that's why you see governors going to retire in the Senate, which is a very annoying thing. You go from executive to legislative branch and you're there, right? So it's like that's their goal. You finish 8 years as a governor, you're going to go to Senate. Why can't we
stay
have a
there for
fresh
as long
blood
as you
there,
want.
right? Why can't we just have, so get people, because while I know not everybody has an education, but there's something about good education, even what we call liberal arts education, it's supposed to make you think, be more pensive, right? And hopefully, you're less likely to resort to violence. You're not an agbero or something, right? But if you elect people who have, I call it other jobs, right? And other career, it's not do or die for them. You come and you run, you don't win. You're like, okay, I tried, I didn't win. Or you get in there, you want to do good for 4 years or 8
And you
years,
do it,
and then you go back to your job.
something.
Tell me who's in politics now that had a viable career before they got into politics and they can leave the politics and go. I'm not talking about you're now in the politics and you start a business, a restaurant or something because you get money from.
Yeah.
What did you do before? You're a medical doctor, law. Did you have a successful legal practice, a successful medical practice, Or you're a businessman. You do have a successful business that we can trace and see what you did before you came into office. And we can say, okay, you succeeded in this leadership. Okay, let's allow you to handle this, knowing that if you finish, you go back to your business. And then we can account for every single money you made while you were in office.
Exactly.
And then see. And that's the problem. We don't have the ability to elect people that have good antecedents that is non-political. Because all of them are going to want to stay.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about AI.
Yes.
So that was one of the initial conversations we had
Yes.
when we met about the AI and the project you're doing in Nigeria. So
Yes.
can we talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. I'm one of those AI proponents. I call myself an AI ethicist and a proponent of what I call responsible use of AI. And we don't really want Africa to be behind or Nigeria to be behind, right? Especially because we have a very young, intelligent, brilliant population to be able to harness what AI has to offer. But of course, AI has been with us since the 50s, 1950s. But just that in the last 3 years, yes, AI has been around for a long time. But in the last 3 years, 4 years. It's become,
Since ChatGPT.
actually since ChatGPT or OpenAI in the collaboration came up with generative AI, it's become more popular now. Everybody's trying to catch up. In fact, AI has now replaced other what we call disruptive technology like IoTs, 5G, blockchain, metaverse, right?
Even
People are,
VR is not
yes,
making as much
VR
noise
or
as it used to.
augmented reality and stuff. People are talking more about AI, right? So it's been around. When I say it's from the 50s, so since I got my degree in computer science, I said in the 80s, there's a guy named Alan Turing that had what's called the Turing test. So you have like a computer and a person do something like answer a question, and the idea is if you're unable to tell which one was done by the computer and which one was done by the human, then that means the computer, passed the test to be more human-like, right? And then later on, the Russian chess champion Gary, I think it was, I don't want to destroy his last name,
Yeah.
Kasparov or something. IBM designed a computer, IBM Blue, that beat him in chess. So at that time,
I think he won once. I think,
no, the guy
a few
the guy
times.
the AI beat him, right? Or the computer, let's call it computer, beat him. So at that time, we were all impressed, and we call that AI. But now, there's a term called AI effect. AI effect means when technology advances so much that what we used to think was AI is no longer AI. So I remember in one of my houses in the US, I had this robot that would clean my house. So I'll go away, I just leave the robot. The robot, when I'm gone all day, will clean the floor. Okay? It just goes around and cleans the floor, right? You come back, your floor is clean. All right? So that was also
Yeah,
AI.
back then.
So those robots are trained in what's called like reinforcement learning, like rewards and punishment from basically from a psychology principle. So when it bumps into the table, it's like a punishment, and giving you. But if you can go around without bumping into stuff, right? You say, oh, this is a good. It's a vacuum, AI robot vacuum. Now they're better now, right? You can actually command it now and speak to it like Siri. If you connect that AI, just like you connect your microwave and all that to your AI assistant, you can say, Siri, tell the robot to go mop the parlor, right? So it can do all those things, right? So, but what we now found out was AI, because it's designed by humans, usually, obviously, Western people, Eurocentric things. AI has bias, and if you ask AI, like it's getting better now because I'm also a certified ChatGPT expert. If you say, give me a picture of a leader, usually we give you a picture of a white male, not even a female and stuff, right? Or what was discovered was, so to get AI to do something, you have to train the AI. It's like I have my son, I have to train my son to do something. So he's learning from experience. So to train AI, you call it machine learning, right? Just a little quick thesis on AI. You train it what's called supervised learning. On supervised learning, you might have semi-supervised learning and then reinforcement learning. That's what I talked about with the robot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So supervised learning would be for like cybersecurity. I feed it with two sets of information. One is a spam email, one's not a spam email. After I train it with so many data, in the future, when it sees an email, it will be able to tell you that
Which
email
one
is
is?
spam, not spam. Or a picture of a dog and a cat. So I tell you, this is a cat, this is a dog. So when he sees a picture in the future, he knows this is a dog, this is a cat. That's called supervised learning. So we label the data, input and output. So you use them for different kind of analysis. Of course, when like another one, like the unsupervised learning, when you don't want to label the data, use all this AI. Like when you watch Netflix, AI will recommend
Which ones,
movie to
yeah.
you to watch, right? For supervised learning, we have stuff like linear regression, that can predict price of a house and all that, right? So when you watch movie and it says, "Oh, what about this movie?" Is AI is recommending it for you, right? Or if you're trying to buy something on Amazon, it will tell you that people that bought this kind of stuff bought all this kind of
Also,
stuff,
but
right? These are like recommendation or predictive analysis of that, right? So because of the bias in the data, you use the data to train. So you need to have a more diverse data set. We found that there's not enough data sets for minorities like Africans. So we want to embark on a project to get data sets to train AI models, not just for facial recognition, because it's found out that it doesn't recognize minority people as much as it recognizes, say, white people or Caucasians, even voice or language. So we're trying to collect the data sets to train AI modules to be able to do these things, right? And of course, we're also trying to encourage Africans to learn how to use AI. Because you don't have to train AI, like computer science stuff, to be involved in AI. You could just learn how to use AI in your job. Because we're telling people that AI, like even coding, people that write codes, it's predicted by the next 10 years, 80% of codes are going to be written by AI.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be a Python programmer, a C++, Java. Or like.
Just
You
tell you
just,
what
just
you want.
if I go on my computer and I say ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, write me a Python code to count from 1 to 10 and print it. You just give me the code. So if I got a degree in computer science, my job is to be able to obviously interpret the code and know where an error might be, right? Because I need to be able to do what's called proper prompt engineering.
Yeah.
Or when I did a training for Dubai World Trade Center, I had everybody from event planners to chef attend my training. The chef wanted to know how to optimize his recipe, right? The event planners wanted to know what's called market segmentation. Somebody that's spending 100 million naira to come to your event with boots needs a different kind of attention than somebody spending 1,000 naira, right? So when AI helps you do a segmentation, right, and then you can target those people with different kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So that the rest, so what the chef will do, like, if I have a camera now and I'm eating, like my wife loves to make meals, but she just made pesto, so I'm eating the pesto now. The camera is observing my facial expression, or maybe what I mean, right? Or so you can see my expression, or if I leave a comment. So what's called sentiment analysis. AI can look at somebody's comments and determine did they like it, didn't like it, they tell what the person is feeling, right? So I could take a recipe that you did, it was awesome. Nigerians loved your recipe for akpu or nkwobi or egusi soup. And I'll be like, okay, take this recipe, help me modify it to a vegan, or help me modify it to somebody who has diabetes, help me modify it for somebody who has high cholesterol, or help me modify someone who doesn't like spicy food, right? Right? And it can help you recreate your recipe. It's not going to help you make the food, but you're going to take the new recipe, you as the chef, you can go and try it, and you can add your own little twist, right? So AI has not replaced you, but you've used it as an assistant to do better. Or like me now, so I took my 10 of my pictures and I trained AI. So I can query AI and say, please, my online persona is named Alex Akpodiete. His email address is this, and that. So Alex is sitting in front of a computer, or Alex is on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. Please create me an image. And we will actually, based on my training of the module, we create a picture of me climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Sometimes it's really, really good. Sometimes it's not as good, right? Right? But you understand. So I have an awesome graphics guy from Akwa Ibom in Delta. Yes, some of the work he might not be able to do, right? But I need something done immediately, so he might replace that guy. But if you're just going to depend on using Corel Draw or something else, you're going to be out of a job, right? So you need to be a little more creative, because even to make short movies now, I can make movies with AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sana.
In fact, I created a motivational tape. I wrote the script. I said, so when I was 7, I used to be a very stubborn kid. She might say I'm still stubborn, but I chopped off my thumb.
Used to be, it's not correct.
so my mom is like, don't chop the coconut. When I see Costa doing something, I'll be laughing. I'm like, it's like me, personified, right? So we had house help, and they were cutting coconut in the back, outside. My mom enters her car and drives off. You know what I did? Now, of course, I rushed to the back, took the coconut, and I started cutting the coconut, right? And then I chopped off my finger, right? Well, somehow, I think because the way then it was College of Education that we were staying, so they were able to run and go intercept my mom, run through the field, and my mom came back. But the funny thing is, my mom cried more than me that chopped off my hand, right? So and it was spatting out like blood, like a tap. And then So they, because back then they didn't, maybe not, they weren't as sophisticated. They couldn't find the small part of the thumb and attach it, right? So my thumb, half of my thumb is gone, right? So in 1995, when my daughter was, the mom was in the hospital, they doing her labor, take almost like a day or two. I started writing a book. So I'm sitting down there, I bring out my computer and I'm writing. So I started writing a book called The Missing Thumb. And I wrote this, I thought it was a very good book and everything. And then I lost the manuscript. So late last year, I'm like, why do I even need to write a big movie? Let me just write the motivational stuff. So I go to AI and I said, write a story of this guy named Ike. Ike is a 60-year-old Igbo man, right? That was abroad. And when he was a kid, lost his thumb. And comes back to Nigeria and finds his thumb. It's a stupid story. But AI created a very inspirational movie out of that script. I show it to you. I saved it, and I was like, okay, because I was trying to run. So you can take like my next meeting now. I have to digest thousands of pages of PDF document. So sometimes I would take the PDF and I put it into AI and I say, give me a 1,000 word summary, and I will do it and I will play it to myself while I'm in the car or I'm listening, right? Then I will now come back and read it when I have more time. But like one way to do is if you have like this book called the 48 Laws of Power. It's a huge book. You can put it into AI and say, summarize it for me and give me questions. And it will actually write you a question to question yourself. So like I took my other book, The 7 Open Secrets of Success. So I was leading a 21-day devotional last year based on Deepak Chopra's something called, I think it's called Success Principles or 7 something. Never heard of the guy. So somebody in my yoga class suggested the devotional. And then at the end of the devotional, I mentioned the guy's book. So I took the book and I put it in ChatGPT and my own book. I said, please analyze these 2 books. I've never heard of this guy. And they analyzed it. I said, yes, there are some similar themes in your book and this guy's theme. And I was like, wow, somebody would think it was plagiarism or something, but there are very few original ideas anyway. But you're able to let me say, okay, I can, or I put my book, I'm like, tell me, this is my book, does it flow or not flow? And then I will say, it doesn't flow. Or I wrote something in this book, I wrote a paragraph about Trump's conviction for that he was convicted, right? So I go to Jenny.ai and I put the paragraph in there. So I'm looking for citations. I'm doing research. I wrote this book that could be a leadership book with the references at the end. Jenny.ai says, sorry, I disagree with your statement. Trump was not convicted. He was acquitted in the Senate, which was true. And he gave me the citation references. And of course, I now went to read the citation. I use the references and stuff, right? That is how you can use AI, right? So we are now collecting data sets for Africans and stuff to use to train AI models. But along with that, of course, my vision is if I can get 1 million data sets in Nigeria, 1 million in Ghana, and then go to East Africa, Zambia, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, and you use it, train your model for FRT, or facial recognition technology, also voice. So when we started the project 4 months ago, we're trying, wrote the code for HTML. It was like if you go on the screen here, you click, if you go, this is the global AI if you go on here to data collection, right? You click on here, the whole idea is you put your information, right?
Yeah.
Your front page, back page, image, and all that. So I'm going to change this now to ask you, because I asked for your tribe, right? I'm going to ask you to say hello in your traditional language.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to collect that data set. Of course, you have to waive certain rights, So that's the next stage of the project that we're working on. To be able to use it. We could also more like speech recognition also. So that's the reason why we're a little slow in our project takeover. And of course, we need money, because the data collectors have to be paid. and then maintaining the site and all that. Even globalai.net is not cheap to buy. Websites, general websites are cheap, but premium websites are expensive, and you have to maintain it and host it. So that's our AI project. And also, we're trying to cover the Middle East too, because when I say minorities, it's not just African, but Persians, Arabs, and all that are not adequately represented in terms of data sets.
Yeah.
Even though countries like UAE, they're spending billions in AI because they want to be on the forefront. They even have a minister for AI, minister for cybersecurity. They invest in a lot. So that's our African AI project.
We Nigeria, I mean.
Yes.
They announced that they're going to be building an AI school.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
We're also trying.
Well, I don't know what they mean by AI school, but because
Yeah, so they want to build an AI university or something like that.
yeah, see, that's the
Let's see how
problem.
that goes.
You don't need an AI university.
You know,
In the rest of the world, nobody's like saying they want to really build a university specific on AI.
I mean, what does that even mean?
Yeah, because AI is really should be part of computer science.
Exactly.
Right?
So what does it mean to
or
build?
part of robotics, depending on what you have in your department. If you have a mechanical engineering department, you're going to have a robotics, which is part of like AI and normal robots. It's just that, so we do a lot of things in Nigeria, and we don't have the proper subject matter experts.
Yeah,
doing it.
I think they just wanted to
Propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe someone might say chop money. It's just like someone will be like, I'm listening on TV, someone say they're a cybersecurity expert. I'm like, what does that really mean, right? What do you have a degree? Do you have certifications, right? And they'll just come and just spew what I call nonsense and stuff. Someone say, University of AI, what is it? What does it mean? People like in MBZ University, Medina Zayed, something, their president. Or you just have a department of AI or have under computer science, you just have a program on AI, have a section on business applications of AI, or how to use, or even people are doing in law, how to use AI in law, or forensics, AI. So that's it doesn't need to be a separate area unless you're doing like machine learning, which is really more like data science, data analytics. So all these people, they just do this thing and then they call their friend or their brother or they know this person, they don't really vet. It's part of our nepotism and what I call our mediocrity. Yeah. And be like, oh, because it's a lot of confusion. Somebody was like, oh, they don't trust AI. AI is going to take over the world. I'm like, what does that mean? Is this like...
So the next thing internet is taking over the world. It's just a tool.
Sometimes Nigerian things, people say being Nigerian things, they tire person, but you shouldn't tire, you just need to find a way to reach
it's just
focus.
The knowledge gap, I think.
Yes, like when I talking about my experience at the university, people are going to be upset about it, but most Nigerian professors cannot compete internationally. That's just the truth. At the university where I was, a lot of them do not even know how to use computers. Lecturers, right? So they'll write their notes and they'll hand it over to their, what they call a class rep or somebody to go and type. And of course, the class rep, if it's corrupt, will start charging the students money to get the notes, right? Or exam script. I remember me going to monitor my exam. They're like, oh no, professors don't invigilate their exam. I'm like, what does that mean, right? So somebody else
It's beneath them.
Yes, I'm like, that's nonsense. So sure enough, when I went to invigilate my exam, I saw a guy in my classroom, right? Taking my exam. And I had never seen this guy in my class. Big guy sitting there, and I'm like, who is this guy, right? Because I know all my students. But also, he stood out because he had another student. He just took the student's paper, put it in front of him, and was copying, right? And the student was so intimidated. I'm like, who are you? I'm like, please, get out of the classroom. The guy looks at me, he figured, okay, this guy don't know what did happen, right? So, and he kind of like smiled and left the classroom. And then one of the other lecturers says, Prof, no, that is the court leader, that's the leader of the court. I'm like, who cares he's the court leader? He's not in my class, leave. But that was funny. So I took his paper and he left the class. I think he just left. He was like, this guy is not a threat. Now maybe we just leave an JJC or something, right? Do you know that the guy not only passed my class, I think he got a high score. Because of course I submitted my grade, I failed him, but somebody was like, this guy passed your class. And, that's part of the, again, corruption in the system, right?
since you failed him, how did he pass?
Oh, because they changed the grade before when they submitted now.
So he didn't even need to write the
Yeah, but I think he came.
assessment.
Maybe somebody told him he should come. I think the man said, we get new lecturer. This is the Americana lecturer. Come to class, take the exam, whatever. But I guess because he didn't, I wasn't going to be there, he was like, okay, let him at least just come. Because in case they want to check. Yeah, because it's really, if he can bribe his way and all the admin officers, he didn't really need to come, right? But I was just finding interesting that he came. And I was looking at the guy. It became a joke later on because somebody was like, so someone, bros, you don't know what you know? I think the guy just either like you or just figured that you don't know what the time of the day is. he just left you, you know? So anyway.
One of the issues, I have someone that I work with that she codes,
Yes.
and they have this team where they come up with like really interesting products.
Yes.
You know, so she does front end, someone
And
else
back
does the
end,
back
yeah.
end, the other person,
Websites, yes.
you know, and all that.
Yes.
So they create apps and everything. So they have really nice products.
Yes.
Issue they're having is funding, you know,
Yes.
and they try to sell,
Yes.
you know, sell their products to, you know, different companies and whatever.
Yes.
And so far, nothing yet. So she has to find, you know, another way. And I know a couple of, you know, programmers that
Yes.
really good, really good.
Yes.
Like brilliant guys, really
Yes.
good. And they're having issues with this same thing of like, you know, selling their stuff.
Yes.
So dealing with AI in Nigeria,
Yes.
you mentioned the tools itself, they're
Yes.
not cheap.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
You get so how can a young person, not, you know, no big financial backing or
Yes.
whatever, you know, be able to get to the point where they can have some success with AI?
Well, of course, there's an aspect of our patience, but it's just like I heard one of our ministers talking about why are they using Indians for like customer service, right? Whereas we speak better English than them, right?
Yeah.
Really, our diction, right? With all due respect to my Indian friends, some of the Indians cannot pronounce V, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
W, where
right. But because we are British, former British colony, and British educated, we have a little better command of the English
Yeah.
language, right? But it's easier for some people to trust Indians with their network system than trust Nigerians because of our reputation. So we have to work on that. The government has to work on that. But of course, while we're trying to work on that, some other Nigerians are sabotaging us. Like I'm in the UAE, you're working on portraying a positive Nigerian image, and then some youths are there fighting over cultism, right? In Sharjah. So now it's difficult for an average hardworking Nigerian to get a visa to UAE, right? Because our people are causing a problem, right? So for them to market their product, they have to be able to overcome that bias. Right? So they can code. You need money, like you said, generative AI. There's free versions, but to get more tools, you have to pay. There's paid versions to use those tools. So some of us offer free courses. We need to have grants, need funding here. Because look at, if you compare China and India, so you know, China used to be the most populous nation. Now India has overtaken them, right? Because of China's birth rate control, right? So China is the most populous nation, but the two of them together make up about 4 billion. The world now 8 billion, right? So the two makes about 3 point something billion, right? Almost 8 billion, almost 4 billion, right? So they're a very populous nation. But the two countries, they actually intentionally embarked on certain projects. In tech now, when we think software, we think of India. When we think hardware, we think about China. So both countries, they embarked on a program for their image and stuff. So India with their universities, even though I know a lot of Nigerians who are more brilliant than, but their universities, they embarked on software engineering and training their people. And of course, you see some of the tech companies in the US, they're headed by Indians. So the government intentionally started pumping their people. It's a long-range plan into software development, tech, learning tools and stuff, right? Training, different stuff. Like Infosys, their company there, it was an American Indian guy, went back and relocated his company to, I think, Mumbai or somewhere, right? They intentionally worked on that. Same thing with China. They intentionally worked on producing things, hardware, right? Yes, you can go to China, you can request for high quality, you can request for low quality or something in between. But you see, right? So our government, because really, what is the job of a government? It really is to provide an enabling environment,
Yeah.
like electricity, good road and security, right? The government has no job buying people cars, buying people sewing
Yeah.
machine, buying people bikes, some things that people do, and they're commissioning roads or they are hailing somebody. That's the job of your normal thing, right? So we need to provide the environment, and I think if you give if the environment is right, most Nigerians will blow. Internet now is so expensive in Nigeria. Data is so expensive in Nigeria. All these companies are exploiting Nigerians.
Yeah.
In other parts of the world, I was telling somebody, an average business in Nigeria spends over 5 million in data alone, right? So let's say you're spending about $2,000-3,000 a month in data. In some parts of the world, just $100, which is 160,000 naira, gives you unlimited internet. So you see the thing, right? And I talk about the light now. You're in band A. Band A will make you cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but at least it's getting better now. I'm not holding brief for this current government, but I can say, like in Abuja, band A, you have almost, like in a week, you might not lose light except for a few hours. So at least we'll solve that problem, but you're paying through your nose. So you can say if you're in Abuja, even though I hear band A, I was just in Asaba, they don't even know anything called band A, they don't have light. But if you're in Abuja, I guess maybe it might be similar to Lagos. If you're in band A and you have the money, you could have reasonable electricity. But again, these are expensive. So they just have to be patient and just keep trying. And we just keep hoping we have the government becomes to see things the way, it's just like me. I had a vision of training over 1 million Africans in tech and leadership, or training a lot of Nigerians. You submit a proposal, somebody steals your proposals and does something mediocre.
Yeah.
But you cannot teach people on like tech without giving them a laptop. Where are you going to be able to find? That's where maybe the government comes in, or this Lenovo or HP donates the laptop, and hopefully people will give it to the people instead of reselling them or doing other things. But it needs a partnership, because we in Nigeria, we have one of the youngest populations in the world. In fact, Africa is not just the next frontier, we're the current frontier. We have so much young population, and we have so many educated young population that are hungry to work, but we don't have opportunity. The reason why I'm a proponent of remote work, minimum wage is 70,000 naira. Can you imagine if a Nigerian gets a job, one job, and they make $100? That's 160,000 naira. And they're here in Nigeria, living in the village. They can feed their whole family and all that. So you see the benefit. So I know this one with all this tariff war that America is doing, the whole idea is some people are relocating companies to where labor is cheaper. But that is capitalism in itself. So we're encouraging people to hire Nigerians, software developers, Nigerian content creators, Nigerian virtual assistants, right? Because the days of 9 to 5 is over. I just give you a job. Like my book now, the cover for my book was done by a guy in India, Pakistan. I never met him. I just went to Fiverr, right? Because there's 10 chapters in the book, and we are sourcing pictures from Alamy and different sources. Some of these pictures, like the front page one of these was $2,500, and you not even sold one copy, right? So we now found other images. You get $40, $40, $40. You get the copyright, and then you find a graphics guy, and he did an excellent job. Makes it to like Crosshair, do Fiverr, and then work. There's other sites, and they could do a lot of good work there.
Yeah, we talked about movies. You're
Yes.
into movies.
Yes.
Also. Okay, so I see the connection between law and tech.
Okay.
So how about the movies? How does it connect to the
Oh, basically, it's just the same part about writing. I like to write, and in my movies, I teach something. Like when we did the night school, I taught different subjects in the 7 episodes, and then the Kinky Journey, I was trying to teach. Somebody might be like, "Who am I to do that?" But I was trying to teach women about being comfortable in their blackness, in their hair. Because I'm like, I don't see why women are trying to make their hair look like black, but more like feel comfortable with whoever you are. Don't let somebody dictate the kind of hair you're going to do. But I wanted to just interview women and see why they have the hair the way they do, right? So it was more like positive encouragement, empowerment, right? You remember we had this discussion about my view on religion in Africa, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, but I just believe that sometimes our people forget our culture under the guise of religion, right? Because somebody has like do something to us, okay? And that the Christianity as we know it now, yes, you saw the Pope being inaugurated, but Christianity started in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with Latin and all that, right? So in a lot of my movies, I try to do something positive, right? So like in the Not So Little Women, we talked about, which we are trying to edit, say kind of portray. We try to not objectify women. We try to respect women. I will try to teach something. In the one that I'm hoping to do this year on AI, it's again about education. To teach someone. So I write my script, except a few that she chooses to produce herself. I try to write the story.
That's your wife?
Yes, right? Because she's the producer, I'm just the writer and sometimes the director. Or if I don't have the time, we have a director and I'm just the executive producer. So I try to teach something in my movies. I tell the stories because we don't want our culture to disappear, right, Jenny says. So even when I'm doing AI stuff, I'm making the protagonist or somebody there, or even the main person, be like an African. Like I have a movie on cybersecurity where the person that is fighting the bad guy is a Nigerian. Instead of being the other way around, where they think we're the one committing the fraud, only to realize that in terms of the top 10 countries that commit cyber fraud or cyber crime, Nigerians are not even anywhere close, right?
So we're just loud about it.
Yes, yeah. Some guy make 1 million in the whole world. Yes, another Oyibo guy will make 100 million and he will still be driving his little tuke or whatever, right? No, it's a mindset, part of our arrogance or our desire to be prideful and showmanship or ostentatious thing. But so I just do the movies I've always liked telling stories. When I was a kid, I go to the village, I sit down, I like to sit around old people and listen to stories, and I'll tell the stories myself. So I like to tell stories. I was known that when I was a little kid, my teenage years, I could tell stories. I say, story, and I start telling stories, But it's just that we have to make a living. If I didn't have to make a living, I'll be living in the village, making movies that maybe I can teach remotely. I don't have to travel so that's the movie making angle. And also because when I was a kid, as I said, I was a latchkey kid and I always stayed at home. That's how I could play Monopoly, chess, and all that. My dad owned one of the first movie theaters in Uyeli. I used to work there. So I love to watch movies. I watch movies, all night long. And of course, in the 70s when TV started coming to Nigeria, we had the TV in the house. I always watch those Western, those Indian. And the reason why, I practice martial arts because of Kung Fu. I used to love to watch Kung Fu. So when I got to the US, automatically, so let me go and learn this stuff. And I found out that, of course, some of them is fake. There's no way I could jump from this house downstairs and kick somebody and not break my leg.
Oh, you actually thought it was?
No, of course. It's just like wrestling. The first time I went to wrestling in Tallahassee, and I said, oh, this thing is fake. Some of my friends didn't believe me. But I just kind of making movies. But I'm not like a desperate movie maker that makes like many movies. It's not a money-making thing for me. I like to make money, but I do it like once a year, once every 2 years. Get the script done, I finish, and I feel good when I make it. And even when we're editing, I'm part of the editing process. I feel rewarded when I'm watching the editing process, putting it together. I'm like,
like your brainchild coming to life.
Yes, right.
There was this the one of the conversations we had initially about letting religion basically just make you not use your brain.
Yes,
basically,
So the first thing we need to understand, like in Africa or in Nigeria, we need to understand that Islam and Christianity are foreign to us. It's the first thing, right? So don't be killing yourself saying, "No, if I'm from the north, I must be Muslim. If I'm from the south, blah blah blah." Right? Like in the case of Islam, from Usman Dan Fodio, if you remember, these are conquering religion. Christianity, yes, it came. Both religions have done some good, and there are also questionable issues with them. For example, Christianity in the south, before the advent of Christianity, we're killing twins. Okay, it wasn't just Mary Slessor that stopped the killing of twins. There's a book called The Twins of the Rainforest that we had to read in school. Because it's because of Christianity that people like me are educated, because my grandmother was educated, my mom was educated through the CMS, Anglican, and of course, as a result, it trickles down to the children, right? Even though there's a funny story about the family when the whites first came, or when they came to education, they made it mandatory to everybody in the house should go to school. But then it was like one person in the house. So we used to own slaves. This is funny because slavery wasn't brought by whites, but it's just that we didn't mistreat our slaves like the transatlantic slave. So there's a story that my great grandfather loved my grandmother so much Like instead of sending her to school because he didn't want them to mistreat her, he sent the slave in her place to school because he loved his daughter so much. He didn't want any Oyibo, any headmaster to flog his daughter, right? But the thing is this, the brand of Christianity that we have in Africa, especially in Nigeria, is very distorted. Not just only prosperity oriented, but it seems kind of very twisted. And a lot of Christians don't bother to read the Bible and all that. Like they might see somebody like me, I'm wearing a tattoo, or they see somebody in the church leading praise and worship with dreadlocks, they think that person is not anointed. Or I heard something about, or if a woman has attachment, somebody claimed that they died and went to heaven, or when they went to hell and they saw the devil dragging the extension, some stupid stuff. If a woman has more than one piercing, or I heard a pastor say, if you're not married in the church, you're not married. I'm like, that is rubbish, that's nonsense. The marriage in the Bible that Jesus Christ turned water into wine was a traditional marriage, because we didn't have all this church court marriage, right? It's a traditional marriage. So we should not bastardize or eliminate our traditional marriage, because marriage usually, traditionally, is between the families, right? The families come and witness, we give our daughter to the man, we get married. That's marriage before God, right? You don't have to go in the church. Now, if you get married, traditionally, you want to go for a blessing of marriage, I understand that. Go get the blessing of marriage. But don't tell somebody that you don't get married in church, they're not married, right? Because that's like when the church start, right?
Yeah.
That we now start devaluing our own marriage. Or people be like, if you get saved, you must change your name. Your name is Chukwuemeka. God done. God is done, right? Or Ejiro. You get saved now, you say, no, I must change my name to Sunday or Michael. It doesn't make any sense. Because there's no Michael as you think about it, or Sunday as in the Bible. Sunday is a day of the week or something, right? And like Jesus, for example, Yeshua, or like my Spanish friends. The first time I went to the US, I met a Cuban guy named Jesus, which is Jesus, right? Because yes, the meaning of the name is important. Obviously, if my name is the one that serves our native juju or something, I can understand that aspect. But must you change it to an English name, right? And partly because it's also a lot of pastors are not educated or exposed. As a result, you have people that you want to witness to become a Christian. They be like, now you want me to according to that nonsense where that person preach on TV the other day, right? Or the old issue, if you spend all your days in church, you don't have enough time to work to give God something to bless you with. So it's just that the state of Christianity or the church in Nigeria or religion in Nigeria is very questionable. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East and have a lot of Muslim friends. And some of them, their outlook on Islam is way different than the Nigerian outlook. My best friend from Sierra Leone, for 40 years, is a Muslim in Sierra Leone, right? I have some really, really good friends. And their concept of Islam is not the concept of, I think it's called the Wahhabi version or something that we have in Nigeria. Truthfully, religion is about having a personal relationship with God, and there should be tolerance involved in it. I also don't believe that we should be praying in government offices, right? When you start meetings and people say, okay, let's say a Christian prayer, a Muslim prayer, I'm like, that is nonsense. We should let people pray privately, right? Otherwise, I'm going to tell you that bring a native doctor to pray also, right? Because if you want to really be truly embracing of our religion, but I don't need to start a government meeting by doing a Christian prayer than doing a Muslim prayer. No, let people have their own personal relations. Because if you do these things, people are not going to be talking about, we should not have a Muslim ticket, we should have a Christian Muslim. Then because religion becomes your own personal, private thing, of course, there's collective worship. But don't introduce religion so much into the Nigerian government that it is killing us. And people are now becoming, I cannot vote for a Muslim president. I cannot vote for a Christian president. Or the imam says, don't vote for this person, or the pastor says, don't vote for this person. Because we've truly misunderstood religion, yes.
Of every other thing.
Nigeria could be a beautiful country if everybody could just respect each other's religion and remove it from the government circles, right? I understand the point. If I should let my staff go to mosque on Friday afternoon. Somebody doesn't want to come to work on a Sunday if I own a hotel or something. I understand that part, right? I have Muslim friends. I respect them not eating pork. I don't cook pork or eat it in their presence if we go somewhere. Also, if I have a Hindu friend, I'm not going to eat beef. We just have to be sensitive to people's religion, but don't use religion in a way that it makes people not use their brain, or they also use their heart. And that's a major problem in Nigeria. So am I more spiritual than you because I can come and I can pray for 5 hours or shout, or I go to the mosque or church, right? Let that be your own private thing. And let us really understand that if you have faith and you believe that God is going to bless the works of your hand, you need to give God something to work with, right? So you got to go and work so that he can bless the works of your hand, right? So that's one of my, I call it pet peeve about religion. I mean, and it's funny because I went to seminary, I was a pastor. When I see something that are done in Nigeria, it just saddens me. When I see people preach, and I'm like, where in the Bible is that, right? Do not forget your culture because you say you're a Christian. When I was being made a chief, of course, in my community, it was an issue because about 10 years ago, I had a friend that had that dilemma. I said, as long as I'm not going to go worship Juju, but I'm not going to say because I'm a Christian, I cannot accept chieftaincy title. Because when you watch some of this, like when the Prince Charles was being ordained as a king, there was a stool that was brought for him to sit on, right? And he's supposedly in charge of Church of England, right? Nigerians do that and they say you deserve juju, right?
Yeah.
You know, we just have to be careful because there's certain things that we are culturalizing and calling it Christianity.
Yeah.
There's a plain things that the Bible speaks about, and then things it doesn't speak about. It's a conviction with God. So you can be a chief, and a pastor, or be a chief and an imam, you know, and then you can answer a traditional name. We chose my last boy, we didn't give him any English name, right? And when someone was like, doesn't he have an English name? I'm like, but who's English among us? Okay, I'm Urubu, and my mom is Kwale. You know, since my wife was Igbo, we gave him an Igbo name and an Urubu name. Of course, his last name was Urubu. That's okay for me. If he goes on one day says he wants to have an English name, for whatever he wants, right? But I see my Chinese friend. You see Quan Lu. Quan Lu is Quan Lu. Or you see Rajesh doesn't change his name because he goes to America. He could be a Christian. He calls himself, you know, Rajesh. Just keep your name. In the book of Revelations, there's a place that says, behold, I looked and I saw people from every tribe and every nation. How do you know that? If all of them are called John, right? All of them look alike, right? Anyway,
it's been an interesting conversation.
Yes.
Where can they find you online?
Oh, me? Yes. Oh, I'm a public figure. I mean, I'm like, just type in Alex, also Akpodiete. There's other ones. In fact, I want somebody stole my identity, but I'm available at globalai.world, atawargroup.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Just type my name on LinkedIn. You see me there. I'm active on Twitter or X at Alex O Akpodiete, Facebook at Alex Akpodiete, Instagram and all that. You know, I tend to post mostly tech training stuff. Once in a while, I'll post me working out in the gym, so it's not so boring. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to drop the link will be in the description below. So please, if you enjoyed this session, like, subscribe, and follow us for more. Thank you. See you next time.